Hi everyone, Mark Merrill with Firm, the Fact Files. Today we'll be talking about wind turbines and hot air. Lots of it. The Natural Resources Council of Maine on September 4th, folks, submitted a report about efficiency, and also we have a Republican Party's Facebook post urging the revocation of Mills Gulf of Maine offshore wind leases. Want to get rid of it for environmental and other reasons. Gee, you'd think it'd be the other way around, wouldn't you? Well, that's what you see before you, ladies and gentlemen, here is this new report of the Natural Resources Council of Maine. The report says, it highlights a little bit here, offshore wind would have lowered electricity prices 11%. 11% last winter, as of September 4th, 2025, in their recent new Clean Energy, Climate Change, Maine Environmental News, and Facebook share post of the September 4th date. Isn't that lovely? Not. Now, according to this new report, folks, 11% might sound like it's, something's better than nothing going in our favor. But we have the pros and cons coming right up here, folks. We do our research, as you all know, on Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media with Mark Merrill. The New England electricity prices would have been, on this post, 11% lower last winter if contracted offshore wind projects had been operational, which they were not. According to a new study by Daymark Energy Advisors website renew.ne.org/offshore wind could have saved New England ratepayers. Tens of millions of dollars in lower costs would have been reflected on the energy bills of Maine households and businesses, blah, 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 blah. Typical deflectocrats. Same deal, yep. But the report, which used real electricity market and meteorological data from December 24 through February of 25, adds to a host of other studies, namely the nrcm.org/blog/federal energy rollbacks raise electricity costs that show the Trump administration's restrictions on new clean energy supplies, such as an offshore wind and rooftop solar, will lead to higher prices for Maine households and businesses and do nothing to address energy affordability. There's so much for the 11%. Savings. Not. Undermining clean energy development takes money out of the pockets of Maine people and keeps it flowing out of state to pay for expensive fossil fuel power, according to Jack Shapiro, Climate and Clean Energy Change Program Director at the Natural Resources Council. Of course, that's under Janet Mills. Building clean energy in our region is good for affordability, good for jobs and the economy, and critical for our climate and environment. The federal government shouldn't stand in the way of this progress. Oh, really? Daymark's study model showed the impact of offshore and wind generation during the winter months, which are the New England region's most expensive energy season. Yeah, you think? It found that if operational this past winter, this 11% means garbage, man. Especially all of you ratepayers out there. If found operational this past winter, 24 into 25, offshore wind energy, OSW, would have generated 3.6 billion kilowatt hours of clean electricity, lowered energy prices by 11%, reduced fossil fuel use by 34 million BTUs, cutting reliance on expensive natural gas. Oh, please. Expensive oil, expensive coal from outside the region. Please. It is the most voluminous and amazing resources we have to our state. They don't know when to stop crying wolf. Wish I had my wolf in his sheep's clothing outfit. That means you, Mills. Attorney Fry. Sarah Gideon going way back. Never mind Ryan not dry behind the ears fecto. And also they say it would have avoided 1.8 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions, equivalent to removing nearly 400,000 gasoline-powered cars from the road for a year. Crap. I do not think so. So guess what? That's what we're doing with it, folks. Right there. Screw you, Mills. But we do have the pros and cons, folks. So we'll get right to them. Wind turbines offer a clean, renewable energy resource with low operational costs, but they face challenges such as high initial investment and intermittent energy production. Pro factors of wind turbines. Renewable energy source. Wind is sustainable and will not run out as long as the sun heats the earth and air moves across its surface. Con, intermittent energy production. Wind energy is not always available. It depends on wind conditions. It's called the weather, which is unpredictable at best. The intermittency can make it challenging to rely solely on wind power for a stable energy supply. Another pro, they say, of wind turbines are low energy greenhouse gas emissions. Wind turbines generate electricity without burning fossil fuels, resulting in negligible emissions during operation, while some emissions occur during manufacturing and installation. Wind energy significantly reduces the carbon footprint. Cons. The upfront investment for wind turbines and infrastructure can be significant. Offshore wind farms in particularly more expensive due to installation challenges. Number 3, on the pro side of wind turbines. Cost effective in the long run? Although the initial setup costs can be high, operational and maintenance costs are relatively low. Wind is free and turbines require minimal upkeep. Number 3, on the con side. Wind turbines can produce noise, which may be a nuisance to nearby residents. Additionally, some people find wind farms visually unappealing, which can lead to opposition against new installations. Number 4, in the pro side. Wind turbines can be installed on agricultural land by lots of permissions. Doesn't mean you're going to get a whole bunch of agricultural farmers where generations and generations have been growing corn, feeding dairy cows, distribution to the state, not to mention outside the state, for centuries. Allowing farmers, here it comes on the pro side, allowing farmers to continue their operations while generating additional income through leasing agreements. There it is. More of this out of the farmer's pocket. Number 4 on the con side. Not just that one. Wind turbines pose risks to birds and bats which may collide with the turbine blades. The environmental concern needs to be managed through careful site selection and technology improvements. Number 5, the last one. Thank God. The pro side says job creation. Well, the wind energy sector is rapidly growing, creating numerous jobs in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance. This contributes to local economies. However, number 5 on the con side. Wind energy generation is most effective in areas with consistent and strong winds, which we do not have in Maine. Geographical limitation can restrict where wind farms can be established. Summarizing, folks, while wind turbines present a promising solution for renewable energy generation with numerous benefits, they also come with challenges that need to be addressed to maximize their effectiveness and minimize their impact. We, here at Farm, will give you a link for that one, folks. And believe me, it doesn't sound like it's very good. Next up, our Republicans have put a post on Facebook back on September 5th. Legislative Republicans urge revoking or revocation of the Gulf of Maine offshore wind leases. What's it say? It's a little bit lengthy, folks, but we have it right here and we'll bring it right up. The Republican lawmakers from the legislature's Energy, Utilities, and Technology Committee, along with several state representatives and senators, have called U.S. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum under the Trump administration and U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright to revoke all remaining Gulf of Maine offshore wind leases. In a letter sent during that period, September 5th, lawmakers praised the Trump administration action to halt new offshore wind leasing and highlighting the risk these projects pose to Maine's $3.2 billion fishing industry. Oh, gee, did Janet not think about that? And it would affect over 33,000 related jobs in coastal communities. Hello? The letter shows the unproven technology and lack of power purchase agreements or floating wind platforms, federal assessments warning of risks to fisheries, marine life, and endangered species, which we just went over, the withdrawal of key industry players from the Maine Research Array Project, and rising energy costs for Maine families and businesses. According to Representative Reagan Paul of Winterport, Maine already has some of the highest electricity rates in the nation. Pushing forward with costly experimental offshore wind projects will only harm our economy and heritage, whose district, in her area, Winterport, has been targeted for offshore wind port development. The legislators are urging federal officials to revoke 4 Gulf of Maine leases auctioned in 2024, terminate the Maine Research Array lease, cancel the upcoming bottom trawl survey, and offshore wind policies to be reviewed to prioritize affordable, reliable energy. Floating offshore wind remains too experimental, too costly, and too disruptive for the people of Maine to bear, the letter concludes. We have some people from in Maine and outside of Maine who reacted to the Republicans' letter to Doug Burgum and Chris Wright, of the Secretary of the Interior and Secretary of Energy. One person wrote, so you'd think Maine, with the dismal track record for Camden High School wind turbine, they can reconsider wind power in Maine. That's the problem. They don't think. As Billy Bob Falkingham, our House minority GOP leader, has said time and time and time and time and time and time again, Janet, we don't have a revenue problem. We got a spending problem. One lady named Ann, offshore and onshore. Get rid of them all. Beverly writes, get rid of them, meaning the wind turbines. Look at land-based windmills, which failed after 20 years. Hull, Massachusetts. Torn down. Dorchester, Massachusetts. Never produced at all. Robert says wind is the most inefficient and damaging source of power. Tina writes from a website to check out, utilitydive.com/news/New England offshore wind deployment bill customer electricity. Gloria writes, if a state boasts beautiful beaches and seascapes, why on earth would you put these things in the water? And one last one, folks. Poppy writes, excellent. I would say someone, gee, I wonder who, is making lots of pocket money from the solar fields and the wind farms, allowing this junk destroys farmland, nature, and only serves those who own them. Wind farms 22. Solar arrays are built with types of heavy metals. Some thermal systems use potentially hazardous fluids, transfer heat, and leaks that can be harmful to the environment. My opinion, says Poppy, wind farms and solar fields producing electricity for Mainers does not appear to be working. Electricity costs are getting worse. How is that helping residents and businesses? It isn't. Thank you, Maine House Republicans and the people of the state of Maine for chiming in. In other news, ladies and gentlemen, switching gears here a little bit, we have before you, unfortunately, another deflectocrat, Chellie Pingree, representative in one of the districts of Maine, I believe the first one. It's time for our hot air segment. In our spare time, folks, we'd like to stop politicos like Ms. Pingree with ongoing outbursts and accusations versus Trump and his administration and do some friggin' real legislative work in D.C. if she wouldn't mind. But I doubt it. What you see before you, folks, is a post from September 5th as well from the Maine Wire, who caught up with the information here on her statement, I should say Ms. Pingree's statement. She's been calling for more military and monetary support for the Ukraine for the next 2 years. She's openly criticized Trump to secure peace in the region. But now, she opposes the Department of War name change because it will escalate tensions. There's a reason we changed the name of the Department of War to the Department of Defense back in the 40s, she says, after losing more than 500,000 American lives during that war. For decades, she says, our generals have told us that the more we spend on decades, our generals have told us that the more we spend on deterrence, diplomacy, and foreign aid, the better. That's nice. Ms. Pingree, yours truly here at Firm, says, written like a true traitor and CCP sympathizer, China, against the U.S. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the entire Bill of Rights, you and your daughter, Hannah, so vile and full of contempt against the president and his cabinet. Joe Labby has a good one. If you look at Miss Pingree, compare her. Was she at the Phillies baseball game the other night where a woman looking exactly like her stole a baseball from an innocent child? Gee, I think so. Next on Firm, folks, as we wrap things up here on wind turbines and lots of hot air. Coming up next on our agenda and programs, we'll be traveling to Newport here in Maine to speak with another candidate for governor in 2026, J. Martin Vachon of Mattawamkeag in Penobscot County. All we have here is his name and a little bit of brief information under the American flag. He's registered as a write-in candidate under the American Party. And we will have his interview on September 17th podcast for his views on the future of Maine government, culture, and hopefully some stability. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on our podcasts here on Firm. We are Fairness in Reporting Media, as you can see. You can catch any one of our podcasts on YouTube, Twitter, or X. And please email us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. As always, Mark Merrill, wishing you all safe travels. Peace to all.